Welcome back to another episode of Paladin Financial Talk. I am your host, Matt Bryant, and today we are happily joined by my co-host, Mr. Tony Shore. Tony, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great, Matt. I am so happy to be here today. And you know why? Because I haven't hosted with you in a little while. No. You haven't been the host. It's been Jeff Quick. It's been Nikki Foley.
Yeah.
And, you know, how many times can I look over there and see Jeff Quick?
Well, it gets rough. It's rough. I sit right next to him upstairs. So
I know you do.
I completely understand. So, no, but they do a good job. Yeah. And I am wrapping up our summer spending series. So Nikki started off kind of laying out all the different things we're going to talk about. And then Ellie did buying a boat. So she's a recent boat owner.
Ellie bought a boat.
Yeah. So she talked through all that. We've done travel and entertainment, kids cost, variety of things. And today I am going to be talking about home expenses, all the things that people tend to do as far as their house now that the weather is warm. So it's timely because especially in Minnesota, we all get a little bit of cabin fever. And so once it gets April and May and the snow is finally melted, the parking lots are packed. If you go to Menards and Home Depot or your local nursery, just packed with people just anxious. There you go. You're one of them.
I've made so many trips. I'm normally not a DIYer. I normally don't just dive into all these projects. But this year, I put in these steps going down our hill in our backyard. I put in sod. I've done some landscaping. And by the way, first time ever putting in sod. Last time ever
I've done it.
Putting in sod. You've done it, so you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. That's actual work.
It's a lot of work, especially prepping it.
Yes, exactly.
It's like painting. All the work is in the prep, and then you got to make sure it's perfect at the end. So my wife Amanda would not say I'm very handy.
Same.
I like to jump in. I have these.
Both your wife and my wife say I'm not handy.
There you go.
So everybody says I'm not handy.
I have these visions and things I want to do, and she's consistently tells me, perhaps you're biting off more than you can chew. But it's hard, especially in Minnesota, where you've been cooped up inside for 6-7 months, and it's warm out.
Right.
Things are turning green. So we're going to talk about a few different things. One, ongoing cost and maintenance. So just some things that happen in the summer that you need to be mindful of, and maybe some ways to help save some money there. And then small or short-term projects, and then we'll wrap up with long-term projects. So renovations and things like that.
So ongoing costs or maintenance, short-term projects, and large or long-term projects.
Yep.
I like it. My wife is actually a little the opposite, though. She knows I'm not handy, but she always is pushing me. She doesn't tell me, oh, maybe you shouldn't do that yourself. She's like, you can just do that. You could do that. We don't need to hire someone, because she always wants to save the money.
Yeah, I get
She's thinking of the money. I'm like, let's hire someone.
Yeah, and there may have been a few times where we tried to save money and it can wind up costing you.
Oh, yeah. Big time. So let's do it. Let's start with the ongoing costs. Then I'm interested to hear what you're talking about here. Maybe utility bills or miles on the car, yard maintenance.
Yep. So we live in Minnesota, generally cooler than the rest of the country.
Yeah.
However, we still get some hot days. We'll have days in the 90s throughout the summer. Air conditioning costs, your utility bills in the summer go up. Now, we have the flip side where in the winter, our gas bill is much higher because we're 10 degrees below zero.
Yes,
and you have to heat the house. But switching gears, now you have the higher electric bill. Sometimes it can be a shock to the system. You get into the months like July where you're running that thing pretty constantly.
Yeah.
You don't want that sticker shock of, okay, all of a sudden my electric bill is 2 or 3 times higher than it was before. So most people are aware, but you can go to your utility and set it up so that you pay an average throughout the year. So you don't get shocked in January and February or July and August.
Yeah.
When it comes to budgeting, that helps. All of a sudden, you're not paying a $400 bill and you're scrambling to figure out where that money's coming from. So that's one thing. And also just making sure your house is actually efficient.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Drafty windows, drafty doors, all those things. Making sure that as much as possible, and those are low cost things you can do to reduce what your overall expenses are. So just being mindful of that. And then this is a big one where it's easy to ignore, but just having a professional come out each year and do a checkup on your furnace and
Yes.
your AC, just like you do a checkup with your financial advisor. They can identify problems before they turn into a disaster, and you're paying $8 or $10,000 for a new furnace or air conditioner. So
Yikes.
basic stuff just to head off any of those expensive problems.
Yeah, some of those surprise costs, especially after a hot summer, that AC bill you were talking about, that's crazy.
Yeah,
we've been panicked and shocked by that.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen for too terribly long, but it's not fun to shell out that kind of money. So, also in addition to the maintenance, it's people like to spend time on the gardening and the yard. My yard is nothing to brag about, but I have a coworker, Zach, who's done a podcast here before.
Yep.
Fairly new homeowner, and he likes to brag about how in tip-top shape his yard is. So he spends a lot of time out there, and there's a cost to that, right? So if you know those are things that are important to you, all of a sudden you're spending $1,000 in June or July, that could be a lot of money. So just plan for it as you go throughout the year.
Yeah, as long as you're planning for it and it's in your budget. And that's the key, is make sure you have a spending plan for these things and are thinking ahead, right?
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Yeah. And gardening is a big thing up here. My wife is big into gardening, and some people, I think, go into gardening thinking, and it could be a cost-saving measure because you don't have to go to the store as often. There's a lot of work and a lot of expense that goes into it, and it's more of a hobby to me. It's not much of a cost savings, but it is nice and have that satisfaction where you walk out and it's ready. But again, like any other hobby, you need to be mindful of it and just be able to prepare and what those costs might be. Because it's easy to go crazy that first time you go to the nursery for the spring or summer, and all of a sudden you're walking out with $500 worth of plants, and you're like, what happened?
Exactly. Been there, done that. And my wife loves to go and buy the plants.
Yeah. And it's great. The house looks much better. And
Yeah.
it's nice to see. But it's just, those are things that, like we've talked about budgeting in the past for a whole variety of things that come up, and you do it, but you don't really have a line item for it. And that's where these are small, but over time they start to add up.
They really do add up. Yeah.
Make a plan and account for it. So, this is the big one for me. So the long-term projects. So this is where I get myself into trouble. This is where my wife calls me a bit of a dreamer on this stuff. Is I see my house, it's 50 years old, and I see things I want to do. So she'll say, hey, we need to get this fixed. And all of a sudden I've brought up, hey, maybe this leads into this and this and this and this. And now we're doing like a half a house renovation. So
it snowballs on you pretty quick, doesn't it?
All the rooms are connected, and it's like, well, if we're doing this, why not add this? So I don't know if you have any renovation stories or if you've done anything significant like that, but you can quickly spiral.
They can spiral quickly. And I know so many people who we're going to remodel the bathroom. Or, they start there, or the kitchen. And then they say, it's going to be, it's a hassle. Well, it's being done. We hired some people to do it. It'll be done in a month, right?
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, oh, this is terrible. And I'm like, whatever they told you or whatever you planned, just assume it's going to take 2 months longer.
Yeah.
I mean, just add 1 or 2 months to whatever project you think you're going to get done, and add about double the cost. And then if that's where your expectations are, you might be pleasantly surprised. If they're not, you're going to be very upset and disappointed.
And that's a good point, because especially like our house, 50 years old.
Yep.
They start opening walls and doing things like we haven't done any renovations.
Then they find
yet,
issues.
But you find issues.
Yeah.
And those are the fact that we're talking about it. They're surprises, but we know the surprises that are going to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
So just like anything else, don't go to the top end of your budget right off the bat.
Right.
Make sure there's
wiggle room. Yeah.
Because
it's always going to cost, if you're doing major renovation, it's going to cost more than you think.
Yep.
And it's going to take more time.
Yep.
I mean, the cost is always going to be more. And that's what I've learned. Like people who, especially the bigger it is, the worse it is.
Mm-hmm.
We're having an additional added to our house, right? Or we're having the whole house remodeled, or we're building a home.
Right.
I always cringe when I hear people saying that, because I know that at some point there's going to be frustration. I mean, it's almost never fails. And it's why there's jokes about contractors, right?
Yeah.
I mean, good luck finding a contractor that's going to come in on time and on budget or under budget. I mean,
And it's
that's
also
tough. It's tough.
It's also where you live. So you can't get away from it.
Nope. You
You
can't.
know? It's not like taking your car in to get fixed. At least it's there. It's like you're trying to live in the bathroom reno, the kitchen reno, whatever it may be. So I can imagine that's quite frustrating.
Yep.
And then you're adding a significant cost on top of that, which brings me to my next point is how do you pay for these things, right? These are $10, $50, $100,000 projects that people like to do. And the reason we're talking about it now is you're not doing big landscaping projects in January in Minnesota, and you're probably not doing things in your house where you're exposed to the elements.
Right.
So summer's natural time to start doing these types of things. And there's three ways really to pay for it. Just pay out of pocket. So cash in the bank or use investments, sell them and use that. There's using your home's equity, or they're just getting a separate loan altogether.
A HELOC loan.
Yeah, a HELOC. So we know interest rates have been higher for a few years now. So you're looking at 6 to 8%, maybe higher on the HELOC and those types of things. So you also have to factor in if you're spending $100,000 on a renovation and you're paying this back over time, like what is your true cost? So how am I going to pay for it now? What if there are overages? How am I going to pay for that? And then what is my true cost once I get done paying all the interest?
Yeah.
Those are important considerations. And it's not that it shouldn't be done because it does increase value and you'll just enjoy it more, but be mindful of the true cost of what goes into all of these things.
Yeah.
So encourage people. I'm anxious to get some things done around our house, but I also know one thing is going to lead to another, and then might as well buy a new house.
Yeah. At some point, right? You have to weigh these things. And I think a key when it comes to the financial aspect is talk to your financial advisor. Don't make a bad move and justify, well, if we take maybe we should take some money out of our 401k or our retirement account. That can be a huge and very costly mistake. That could compound your problems.
Absolutely.
Right?
And there's a whole group of us advisors, and we talk and bounce ideas off of each other. And pretty regularly, somebody's wanting to buy a second property or do some renovations on their current property. And so to us, it's like, okay, how does this impact your financial plan long term? Do you have the money for it, or all of a sudden you're derailing what we've worked to put in place? Second, and we talk about this in every meeting from when a person is a potential client to year after year when they are clients, is what types of money do you have? So there are different types of money that are going to be taxed in different ways. So you have taxable money where you can get at any time regardless of your age, and you pay typically a lower tax rate on that. There's the 401k or the IRA money, where that money's never been taxed.
Right.
So you pull it out. So now if you have a $100,000 renovation and you want to use your IRA, well, remember, you got to pay Minnesota, you got to pay Uncle Sam, and it's going to increase your taxes on everything else too. So that could be a 30% increase. You have your Roth IRA. That money's already been taxed, so it comes out tax-free, but there's restrictions on when you can use it. You have to be 59 and a half. It has to have been in there for 5 years. So that's where we come in. It's how can you efficiently use that nest egg that you've saved and actually pay for these things without incurring higher taxes or penalties or completely derailing your financial plan.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really important to look at. And there's so many things that people don't think about, right? They don't know, hey, if I pull that money out, it's not like you can just take $100,000 out. They're going to hold 20,000 or 20% back, which is $20,000 in that case. You're going to pay probably a penalty unless you're over 59 and a half. And even then, you have to pay all the taxes. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then there's the opportunity cost. So you're no longer invested and not earning what the market might give you.
Yeah. You're giving up all that compounded growth.
Yep. And one of the exercises we do when a person is first exploring working with us is you rank 6 different financial priorities, one of them being saving for a particular goal. So we want to know if, hey, we plan to renovate our kitchen in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Because now we can build something that accounts for that. And we're not going to put you in something that's going to be at risk of losing significant value. If you need that, we can look at something that might earn income for you as you go along. But those are the conversations we try to have. It's not just saying, what stock should I buy? It's actually, how do we finance our life over time?
Yes.
Because renovations happen.
So it's part of a plan. The money will be somewhere where you don't have to worry about those costly mistakes. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And so I think that's part of the value add of working with an advisor is, hey, I want to do this. How do I do it? And then we can say, all right, stepping back, let's rework your plan. Let's see what stress this puts on your retirement plan. Let's see what other options exist outside of your nest egg. And then you're able to make an educated decision and still hit your goals.
Yeah. And I think just having a plan and making sure you're planning for the cost, that is, you're right. That's the biggest part of this. But it is interesting. You're right. The lots are full at the nurseries, right. Where you buy your plants, or me getting sod.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Or having sod delivered. I've been to Menards and Lowe's so many times, and Home Depot, all three. And the hardware store, it's crazy.
So, it starts snowing here in October, or it can.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then there's been times
first part of May.
Yeah, first part of May before.
So October through May, you're locked out of any outdoor activity.
Yep. I will say, and I pause to admit this, but come August, sometimes I'm like, I can't wait for it to snow so I can stop doing all these outside projects. Because if it's snowing,
terrible.
I'm not mowing, I'm not landscaping.
Although the mowing part, the lawn care and the landscaping, it is,
It's like, all right, well, it's snowing. I can't do anything about it. So,
right.
Maybe
Then you have to fire up the Toro and head on out to that driveway, and then you have to shovel snow.
Well, that's true. There's a trade-off, but
I don't mind mowing, actually. You know what I mean? It's the one time where I can completely, not think about, it's just getting away from everything. I'm out there mowing.
Yep. Time it with a Twins game, and
time it with a Twins game, or
listen for an hour, or how long it takes you. And it's not so bad. So.
Yeah. Mowing isn't terrible, but after you've done it all summer, we'll see. I mean, every time it pours rain, and then we have 1 or 2 days of heat, and then my lawn needs mowed, but then it starts raining again. So
That's right.
It's been crazy here lately.
It has been. Starting to look like a jungle, but
it is. Yeah. I got we went out and mowed our lawn just before that rain. So it poured yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So the day before I mowed my lawn that night, because I'm like, it's going to pour rain for a few days. So
nailed it.
Got it done.
Nailed it.
All right. Well, we're talking about these projects. This is great. But for people to get the financial side of it planned out, make sure they're on track, you need to work with a financial professional. Mm-hmm. You guys have a great team. Matt, I know you love hearing from folks. How can our listeners and viewers out there get a hold of you?
All right, social media platforms. So we're all over the place there. You can go to our website, paladinfinancial.com, and you can request a consultation through there. We have a ton of other cool resources as well. You can go old school and just pick up the phone and call us at 651-842-8406. We're happy to chat with you. Our whole goal is to make sure you have a comfortable financial life, and that's what we love doing.
All right. Well, thanks, Matt. Great show.
Thanks, Tony.
Listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Paladin Financial Talk with our host, Matt Bryant.
Thank you.